The following is a Podcast One Minnesota production.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
If it's made in Minnesota, who's making it and how?
Yeah, you got that right.
It's the Makers of Minnesota, focusing on the products and services uniquely made in Minnesota, and conversations with the makers, entrepreneurs, and innovators in Minnesota about how they conceived of their products and how they brought them to market. With Stephanie Hansen, it's the Makers of Minnesota.
Hi, this is Stephanie Hansen. You are listening to The Makers of Minnesota, where we talk to cool people doing cool things. And today we have a good story. We have Kristen Ferris with us, who is with CuddleMutt. And Kristen walked in the door and she said, oh my gosh, you podcasted with, was it your cousin?
That's correct.
Your cousin is Melissa Ferris from Veritas Botanicals, that it was purchased by Prenam. And she and I podcasted together quite a while ago, actually.
Yeah, episode 7.
Yeah, and I have been revisiting people from podcasts. I just recorded one today with a woman that we podcasted with about 2 years ago. And so much can happen in the business world, like of a startup, right, in a couple of years. So it's really exciting to talk to you today. Some of these makers, I'll just give you the whole embarrassing story. So I find some of these makers on Instagram, right? And then I'm like, and I'm researching you and I'm reading about your product on your website and I'm looking at your Instagram and I'm going to meet you in the lobby and I'm realizing I have no idea who this person is by name. I thought you were a woman because I thought I'd seen your picture on the Instagram site, but I was like, okay, I don't know her name. I get out there, I'm like, hi, all I know is you're CuddleMutt and you're wearing your cute shirt. So thank you for not being, I was like, gosh, how embarrassing. I don't even know your name, but I do know your products.
Yes, well, I'm glad you do.
Yes. And
I'm glad you found us.
I did. And CuddleMutt is, I think another maker actually might have recommended you. So congratulations to those makers for recommending other makers.
Yeah, I love the community of that.
What I think you're doing is really interesting, and it never occurred to me. So, CuddleMutt, tell me like what your tagline is about your collars.
Sure, it's really dog accessories, and it's for dogs with a cause. So we have that really cause behind it, and it really all started through my fostering with Secondhand Hounds, which is a local rescue organization. Sure. So I foster dogs, and every time I brought in a foster through Secondhand Hounds, I like to give them a blanket. It helped provide a sense of security, comfort, and all of that. And I like to give it to them as well when they transition to their forever home.
Yep.
So that's really where the idea started, is I saw this need for blankets, and rescues as well as shelters really didn't have as many blankets as would be, kind of needed for all the dogs that they rescue. And so I wanted to design a good blanket, so it's not just some old, towel that they get. Which is
typically what people use, and myself included.
Yeah, so it's a nice blanket that they can use to help a dog with a transition and give the dog some comfort.
And it's dog-sized, so it's like it's a really nice size. What are the actual dimensions? Like 3 feet by 3?
Yeah, it's like 30 inches by like 36 inches. Yeah. And I have it on my website, but it was purposely designed because a lot of these shelters have the Canada blanket or the Canada beds.
Yep.
And so I wanted one that would fit well on that, as well as good for laundry, because, a lot of dogs come through and laundry is important, to keep that in mind.
And then so was the blanket the first thing you started with?
Yes.
Okay.
So really, the whole business started on the idea of the blanket. I wanted to give the blankets, and so I based the company on that and really designed the blanket specifically for dogs. So the blue on the one side is a color that dogs can see, or scientists think that they can see. Yep. So it adds some color to their life. And so it was very thoughtfully designed with our binding. We did tri-cot binding, so it helped with the durability because, dogs,
they like to nest and dig.
Nest, exactly. Yep. So we did design it with dogs in mind, and so that was our first product. But at the same time of launching, we did have the collars available, but the blanket really started it.
So tell me about, you called your collar a vegan leather collar.
Yes. So, as you know, there's a lot of leather collars out there, and I wanted an animal-friendly version of that. Really, right now, the most popular animal-friendly version is a nylon, but as people listening may know, if they have a dog, it catches on the hair quite a bit, and so I wanted something that's of high quality but not leather. And there's really nothing on the market. And if there, is, I haven't found it yet.
Right, right.
So I really had that in mind of something high quality, and luckily found a local manufacturer that helped bring it to life.
Okay, and I love that you are, like, it never occurred to me that dog collars aren't vegan. Like, they're leather, and that's kind of funny if you're, like, into animal health and safety. And, of course, we eat cows and we wear leather shoes and all the rest. But it made total sense that if that's important to you as a lifestyle brand, that you would have a vegan collar. I thought that was so clever.
Thank you. Yeah, we really wanted to provide this kind of niche to people that's important to them. And so all of our accessories will be animal friendly, and we'll use whatever alternatives are necessary to bring something to market that's friendly.
Kristen, so you were a dog rescuer, you were a foster dog. So I know a little bit about secondhand hounds. So tell me what the physical experience is of being a dog rescue home.
Sure. So when you sign up to be a foster, and there are a lot of rescues. So I foster through secondhand hounds, but there are so many great rescue organizations in the Twin Cities that all do this as well. And so secondhand hounds, really, the process is you bring in a dog into your home, and you set this up ahead of time. So they post dogs that are in need. You say, I would like to foster that dog. You pick it up on the designated date. You bring it home, and you really provide the love and care that it needs until it finds a forever home. And typically that could be a couple weeks, or it could be a couple months, depending on how long it takes to find the forever home. But you receive the applications, and you get to pick the home that best fits that dog, which I really like.
Oh, that's interesting. So I'm familiar with secondhand hounds from my work on Twin Cities Film Festival, and they're working on they're a beneficiary and a partner this year.
Yes.
So some of the dogs that come through secondhand hounds are dogs that have like medical needs. Is that hard to manage when you get some of those dogs that are a little needier?
Absolutely. I think they do a good job of calling that out before you get the dog if they know of it. So if there is a special needs dog and requires additional care and vet appointments, they like to bring that up so that if you have a schedule that won't allow for the midday vet appointments, then you can see if they have called any of that information out. But it is hard. They take on some really special cases, and you really have to be devoted to that.
So we were talking earlier, you came in and I asked if I could have one of your blankets actually for my dog, who's a rescue. And we were talking about how I got my dog, and I'm going to tell you the story simply because I think it's a great story, but it's also kind of sad.
Rescue stories.
So I had a 10-year-old black lab who I loved. She was great. Simon was his name. And we had him in the kennel, and we were in Ely at our cabin. And he had thrown up. It was Memorial Day weekend, and he had thrown up that day as we were getting ready to leave the cabin. And he would get car sick, so we would put him in a kennel in the car. And about 2 hours down, so we were in Cloquet, Minnesota, we stopped to let him out of the car. And he just really did not look right. Like, he just looked like he was struggling, and he was kind of scared looking and really rigid. So we called the vet and said, we're probably going to have to come down. We're 2 hours out. And she said, well, can you look at the color of your dog's gums? So I looked, and I was like, I don't know, they're kind of gray. And she was like, oh, that's not good. It sounds like maybe he's in shock. I think you should actually hold on, and we'll find an emergency vet for you in the town where you are. So just hang on the line. So I'm hanging on my cell phone. I'm all of a sudden getting really scared, and I'm crying. And my daughter was a 5-year-old, and she was in the car. Actually, she was 4. She was in the car with my husband. And so I was trying to not look at her, and I was just really panicked about the dog. And while I'm standing there crying on the phone, trying to not have my kids see, waiting for the vet to get back to me, I'm literally I'm in a Subway parking lot, and this little brown dog comes running up to me, has no collar, and it's probably 12 pounds. It's not very big. And it's kind of climbing up my legs. You know how dogs do that? Yeah. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I lift up this dog, and the vet gets back to me, and she's like, okay, you want to go down this road? And so I'm trying to get the directions of where we need to go. I'm worried that my dog's in the car, and I have this other dog, and there's nobody around.
Sure.
So I grab it and I put it in the car and I tell my husband like where to go to the emergency vet. We go to the emergency vet. We leave my daughter in the like front lobby of the emergency vet with this other random dog. And we go into the vet and it turns out my dog has bloat and we need to put him down. He's really suffering. And it's like a span of, a couple of minutes that we figure this out and we have to make the decision to put him down. I'm like sobbing. My husband's crying. We have to go get my daughter to say goodbye. And it was just the saddest, saddest day. And all the while, she's playing with this other little dog that kind of looked like a chocolate lab. So, we put our dog down. It's super sad. And they're like, okay, you can come back in a week. They were going to cremate him. You can pick up his ashes. Okay. And I was like, and then I have this other dog that I found in this parking lot. He's like, oh, yeah, there's a reservation close to here. We see dogs like that all the time. You can go ahead and leave it here. We'll take care of it. So I was like, okay. So we get in the car. We drive home. I'm just super sad. My husband's sad. My daughter's a little kid, but she's sad. And the next day I go to work and I'm telling everybody at work this story. And they're like, well, what happened to the other dog? I'm like, I don't know. We just had to leave it at the vet. It was too much emotion. And they're like, well, you have to get that dog. That is like a transference of souls. I'm like, no, it isn't. They're like, yes, it is. And I just couldn't hear it. And I stopped. I wasn't thinking about the dog. I was just so sad. And that day I left work and I went to go pick up my daughter at the daycare. And the lady that ran the daycare, she's like, oh, Ellie made a picture for you today. She hands me this picture and it is a little stick figure girl with 2 leashes, one in each hand. And one is the black dog and it says Simon. The teacher had wrote the name of the dog. And on the other hand is a leash that is the brown dog, the little dog, and it says Nikki. And she's like, I made this for you, Mom, and those are our dogs. And I'm just like, oh, wait, what is happening? So I get home and she's talking all about this dog, Nikki, and Nikki this and Nikki that and our dog. And I said to my husband, oh my gosh, I don't know, but I think we have to go get that dog. And he's like, yeah, we do. So I called the vet and said, look, I don't know if anyone's claimed the dog. He said, no, and no one's going to. I'll give it all its shots. I'll get it ready to go. You can come pick it up. So that Friday, we picked her up at preschool. We drove up to the cabin and picked up that dog, Nikki. And that dog was a rescue. She had obviously been an outside dog. She didn't really know the difference between inside and outside. She was scared of men, frankly. I don't know if someone had beat her, but that whole first year of having her, she was kind of timid, kind of skittish. But she has just ended up, she's 15.
Wow.
And she has just been the best dog. And she just she's a super healthy 6 miles. My husband hikes around this lake. No problem. She's kind of a husky. She's like a husky lab mix.
Okay.
And she's just been so great. And I think about the whole rescue dog scene and how those dogs require a little bit extra care. She has her favorite blanket. She doesn't she still has separation anxiety. She does not like to be without us.
Okay.
So blankets really are an important part of her life because we're always trying to, if we travel a lot, so we'll give her to my sister, but we'll bring her blanket and her bed. And I have beds everywhere with her little comfort things in them. So I think it's so neat that you rescue dogs because it makes a huge difference for them in that transition. When you have when they get to you, how sad are they? How hard is it?
Well, first off, I love that story.
It's kind of like
a fate thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's so great that Nikki ended up in your home. But you're right, all of the rescue dogs have their own story and background, and they may have a fear of men if they had a bad experience, or if they, had an experience with kids, if any bad experiences happen there.
Yep.
And I think that's what's great about fostering is then when those applications come through, you can pick the best home for that dog. I had one dog that needed really a home with just a single woman.
Yeah.
And I found this widowed woman, and she really needed a companion, and it worked out great. So I think there's really a home for every dog that comes through. And as the foster, that's your responsibility to figure out what makes sense for the dog. And I think it's great that organizations will empower you to do that.
Yeah. So let's talk about your background before you started fostering and starting this business. what was your background or what were you doing in your working life?
Sure. So as soon as I graduated from college.
Are you that young?
I graduated about 5 years ago now.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So,
that's so incredible.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's something I started doing right after college. So I graduated college, moved home to save some money and pay off debt. And I went to the University of St. Thomas locally here. So stayed pretty local and grew up in Rosemount. So I went back home and our family dog had passed away not too long before. So there was this void and I had a friend that fostered. So that's how I kind of got started into the fostering world. I started a job, though, right after college and still am there 5 years later and doing both right now. So
what kind of a job is it? What do you do?
It's really a pharmacy benefit manager. So I do product for them, but it's a different type of product, networks and formularies and all that fun stuff. So I continue to do that as it helps me fund this passion of mine. So so then I started really thinking about that entrepreneurial bug, I guess, got me. My cousin, like we mentioned earlier, started her own company.
Yep.
Both my parents are entrepreneurs as well.
Isn't that funny? Because I do think it sort of runs in families.
It's like in the blood, especially on that Ferris side, where I've got a couple cousins and then aunts and uncles and my parents. And so I always knew it was a path, which I guess I'm fortunate in that way. That
you always thought you could.
That. Yeah. So I grew up with just the thought that you can really start anything you want to and have really good support system, which has really made CuddleMutt possible.
So you started the business. Do you remember how much money you put in when you originally started?
So I think to start, it was about $30,000. I put a lot into it because of the inventory. So the blankets are the only thing we don't make locally.
Yep.
Because of our mission to give back, just to make it all work. I work with a New Jersey company, and they're made overseas. So we got 2,000 blankets to start because of the minimum order quantities. That was the
Were you just dying?
Do. Yeah, well, they showed up. They showed up and just all of these kind of crates. And
it looks like way more than you think it's going to be. Yes.
It filled up the whole, my whole parents' garage. I had it delivered there. And they're like, you need to
find
come home
place.
and see this because it's taken up the whole garage. I was like, okay, well, I don't really have a plan B right now. So, I'll figure it out. But yeah, when the 2,000 arrived, it was kind of funny because it is a lot.
Was there a lot to go into? You mentioned the design. It seems like a polar fleece blanket with kind of a fuzzy side of it, but what simply looks to my naked eye it's just a blanket. I'm sure took you longer and more prototypes and.
It did. And, this is all new to me. So it's just being able to talk the language too. And in the manufacturing world, there's just so much lingo that I didn't know. And so it was a lot of research of, the design of the fleece on the one side and then figuring out that the other side is the synthetic lamb's wool and it's the soft blue side that dogs can see. And so putting all that together and figuring out what kind of binding and for the collars too, I was fortunate enough to find a local manufacturer because you reach out to all of these manufacturers, but they don't want to really work with startups because it's hard. I mean, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, so and they don't necessarily want to take the time to educate you. They just want to make your product.
Exactly. So if you don't outline it exactly how they need to hear it, it gets frustrating to them. But HBI Textiles, which is in Maplewood, Minnesota, there's a woman, Jerry, there that has really walked me through from the start. And I explain kind of what I'm looking for. And she helps me kind of get there and all through the different processes that you need to get there. But at the same time, I still need to supply her with everything. And I think some people think I give them a picture and then they just do.
Yep.
But I have to provide the material for the collars, the hardware, so the buckles and the D-rings, and then how I want it stitched and how I want to size it for the different sizes.
And how did you learn what you wanted? Did you just internet research and?
Yeah, that took the longest was the collars, I think, because it was figuring out what material would work best and not catch the dog. So it was a lot of trial and error and prototyping and figuring out what material. And then I really wanted the D-ring to be strong as well as the buckle. So they're brass, they're strong, built to last because you don't want to, have a cheap product out there. And of course, the fear is that D-ring would break and your dog would get loose. So that was very important to me to do it right. And I took, time to make sure it was right, because I didn't want to put something out to market that I didn't stand behind and believe in. So yeah, it was a process to get all of the materials, but I was able to source it all locally within the U.S. Midwest here and provide it to the factory or local manufacturer here. And they were able to help bring it to life, which was great.
So your blanket, when you buy a blanket, it's how much?
The blankets are $36.
And when you purchase a blanket, you also donate a blanket.
That is correct.
And where do you donate it to? Any shelter, or do you have relationships?
It's really just any shelter. However, we started locally, with Minnesota Shelters and Rescues, and we've done a couple out of state. Actually, our first donation went to Hurricane Harvey down to Texas.
Sure.
It was when the hurricane had hit, and Secondhand Hounds
They brought a lot of dogs back after that.
Yeah, and they had a lot of relationships down there, and they knew that there was this blanket need, and so that was where the first 50 blankets went. And then now a lot of shelters and rescues locally, the Minnesota Humane Society, Underdog Rescue, Spot's Last Stop. We've worked with a few local ones here in Coco's Heart that need blankets, and we kind of look at wish lists as well to help drive, where is there the need for blankets. And there's more, of course, need than we can supply. So as we continue to grow, we're really excited to fill that gap more and more.
Are you still fostering dogs?
I am. I don't have one currently. We just got back from a vacation, and now I'm starting at the Mall of America, which I know
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So you're going to be at Rass Market, and do you want to describe what Rass Market is? We've had a number of you vendors on, but it always helps to tell people what that is so that they can consider applying next time.
Yeah, so Rass Market, I'm going to be a first timer there. I know some have done it before, but it's really a bunch of local businesses and entrepreneurs, a lot of female entrepreneurs, which is fantastic.
Yep.
That are in a space, and it's going to be a new space in the Mall of America, and it's bringing all of these local businesses together to sell their merchandise. And so I'll be there with CuddleMutt.
Are you doing a 3, 6, or 12-month lease?
3 month.
Okay.
So we will be there November 1st through January 31st.
Okay.
Through the holidays.
And you've never done this before?
No.
So did you have to hire someone to work your booth because you have a day job? Did you collaborate with other vendors in order to get your booth staffed, I know that you guys, it's like a cooperative environment.
Yep. So working through that right now. So by the time this airs, I'll be in the Mall of America, so it should be staffed by then. So we're working through that right now, but I've never had to hire staff. I have a good, support system for events. We've really just done pop-ups, and I've been able to manage that. There are a lot of times on the weekends or nights, and so with my full-time job, I'm able to get there and make it work. But with this new opportunity, it's fun and exciting and scary at the same time. But
did you have to make extra product?
Yes, and so we are doing additional products in addition to just expanding our current inventory. But by the time this launches, you'll have to come and check out the new scarves. We're going to have dog scarves.
Cute.
As well as bandanas. So we'll have both of those, as well as we're expanding our colors to have a black collar and a white collar. So yeah, it's exciting, and
it's stressful too, though, because I imagine you had to put at least, I'm assuming, about $10,000 into inventory in order to get you through those 3 months.
Yes, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's really just a chance that I wanted to take, and I thought this could bring CuddleMutt to the next level. And again, my hope is to really build the brand so I can continue to donate blankets to shelters and rescues. So I was thinking, when I was asked to be a part of this market, that it would be a great opportunity to give people the chance to see us in person and not just at these pop-up events. We actually will have a standing location for 3 months, which is exciting.
How much of the purchase when someone buys something from you, because is most of the purchasing happening online or at the pop-ups?
I would say it's a mixture. I would say the pop-ups, we do get more just because we're able to explain our story and get the word out. And because we're about a year old last month, we're brand new still. So it's really getting the word out and explaining our mission and all of that. So that happens at the pop-up, but at the same time, social media is great.
Yeah.
And we are able to, on Facebook and Instagram, reach people, and then they go to the site and purchase.
I was going to ask, so how much do you think of the purchase is the story and the giving back? Because that's very popular now to have a give back model.
Yes.
Did you always know you were going to do that? Like, was that the impetus for starting the business? Because you probably could have sold other things too.
Right. Yeah, that was the basis of it. That's what I started it on, is I knew I wanted to give back. I think as a millennial, and social enterprises are becoming more and more popular.
When you say as a millennial, describe why you say that, because I know why you say that, but I want the listener to hear that.
Sure. So I think as a millennial, we do want to make the world a better place, and that is at least the desire of most, not all. You know, you can't always say all, but the most is to make the world a better place, and I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to create a company that made a difference. I didn't want to create a company just to make money. I wanted to create a company to make a difference in the world, and I knew the impact that it would have on the dogs if they received a blanket. So that's where this all started. That
is a very millennial-like trait people are finding when they study millennials. You know, we give, I don't know, there's a little bit of a ease of bashing millennials sometimes, but they're very interested in social enterprise, social justice, giving back, finding ways to make the world a better place. It's funny, not to digress into politics or voting, but yet they're not the best about voting. And it's so surprising, because you would think that because they really, I think as a group, deeply care about the world and want to make it a better place, but it doesn't really translate into politics, but it does translate into this entrepreneurial spirit.
Right. I think we try to make that positive impact, and we, in general, try to remove ourselves from negativity, which unfortunately is the political landscape right now.
And that could be that I never had thought about it that way, that what do you want to let into your life? And politics is so acrimonious and so hard right now.
Right.
That people don't politics used to be in the day kind of a positive thing, right? It was philanthropy. It was giving back to your community. It was taking a stand. Yeah. Being Democrat. We have a democracy, and what can you do to support the democracy? And it is funny, in the last 100 years that has shifted into sort of this very negative, icky place. Whereas, a one-to-one entrepreneurship program feels really good, and you're doing something good in the world, and maybe control too.
Yeah.
It feels like something you can control.
Right. But that shouldn't take away from voting.
No.
I think we all need to get out there and
hopefully
vote,
people will.
Yeah.
And I've got my own political beliefs, but I even tell, just vote. Whatever your belief system is, you might find yourself in where you need support from your politics, from your economy, just get out there and vote. Just whatever it is. I don't care who you vote for, but practice being in the democratic system, because it's a gift.
It is. Yeah. Use your voice.
Yeah. Whatever that voice is. And I am really impressed at you using your voice. Is the dream to contribute more and to have more products and to make this your full-time gig over time?
That is the goal. So if I can get it to a place where I'm able to support myself and I don't need the full-time job, then that would be the ideal state. And I'll continue to plow away at it every day until I hopefully can make that a reality.
Without getting into specifics, do you have that idea of that number in your head and what that looks like? Do you have it written down? Do you know?
I have just the idea of kind of supporting my current salary.
Yep.
If I can get close to that and I can basically meet my needs as well as some wants of lifestyle wants, then that's when I will make the jump, ideally within the next few years.
Yep.
But I'll just continue to see where it takes
and
me.
Maybe RAS will give you the bump that you need. One thing to think about is healthcare, because as an entrepreneur, my husband and I had our own business. We were successful at it. We sold it. It was the American dream, but we didn't think about healthcare to the degree that we should have, because what we were paying as employees, even as our own company, because we had a group of employees and we were all paying together,
Right.
our costs were 4 times as much. And, you know, unless you're going to be in some other situation shortly where you can get group health insurance, you're going to be on your own.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. I think the percentage is 15% of people are on the independent market, which would be entrepreneurs, which would be graphic designers,
Yes.
freelancers, that whole class of people trying to create and do cool things and
Yeah.
creating the jobs for the future of America.
Right.
But you have to pay for your health care first. So
Yes.
just something to think about that. And I don't know why we didn't think about it more. I think it's just like, oh, yeah, well, it'll be kind of what it is now.
Yeah.
But it was so dramatically different.
It is a consideration that I've thought about because my parents are entrepreneurs. So I've seen that firsthand.
Yeah.
And that's something that they've said multiple times to me is one of the top considerations. So it's funny you bring that up too, because, and I think now with MNsure, there are other avenues to get health insurance that they didn't have available to them. So I think we're starting to shift a little bit in having opportunities for this class of people that are basically taking a chance and doing something on their own, which
because
is
even
good.
if you can like cover your basic living expenses, you know, to my healthcare bill is more than my mortgage, and that doesn't include my deductible. So
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm healthy right now, but I've had some health challenges, and it can get really overwhelming. So think about healthcare.
Yes.
Let's talk about social media, because you're of the young person social media generation where you're probably doing it all yourself.
I am. Yes.
Tell me, how many times a day do you post on Instagram?
I post once a day is the goal. And it is hard to get content to get to that state because you have to take the time to really think about what your caption is and use the hashtags and post relevant information and have the dog photos to support it.
Do you typically have a percentage of lifestyle to brand photos? I mean, you have dogs, so that's a pretty cute way to go about it.
It is. Yeah, I try to balance it between actual just product shots as well as we use dog influencers, which...
Tell me about that.
Yeah, if people don't know, they're really dogs that are on Instagram that their human owners have created an account just for them to really show their lifestyle, and they get a ton of followers.
Like Dogs of Instagram is a gigantic local couple.
Yes. Yep,
that
they're
has
local.
dogs.
And we work with like Pointer Problems, which is 2 pointers, and they're local here. Gordy and Lily are the pointers, and they have about 40,000 followers, I believe. And then there's like Gus in the city.
Yep.
And he's a Minneapolis Frenchie.
There's
and
3 Frenchies. That's a new one.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard of that one.
That's
They're
a new
popping up like every day, and we work with them, and it's great because a lot of the dogs have either come from rescue or the owners support rescue in some ways, so they get behind our mission as well, and so they
they're
help
brand
promote it.
ambassadors.
Exactly. Yeah, they're really brand ambassadors, and so we work with them to get photo content, and they post to then their Instagram, which if they have 50,000 followers, they're now exposed to CuddleMutt, and so that's really helped get our brand name out.
Do you pay your influencers, or is it like a trade situation for product?
It's free product, so we haven't given any compensation. It's really the free product in exchange for a couple posts.
And that's really lucky. Do you think it's because you're mission based that people are like so willing to help you?
Yep, I think that is really the reason that people are, willing to do some posts, as well as not just do a post to do a post, but really they provide that content that it's real. They
Authentic,
really
yeah.
It is authentic. They want to support this local organization if we're working with a local influencer, and they want to see CuddleMutt succeed because they know that means more blankets are donated to dogs. Yep. And I mean, we're in this to make a difference, and I think that comes through.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it can. in your whole world of social media, is Facebook relevant at all, or is it mostly Instagram for you?
Facebook is relevant. So we have a Facebook page. We are focusing on those two. So we don't have Twitter or anything like that right now. It's just Facebook and Instagram.
And you abandoned Snapchat. Were you a Snapchatter in high school and college?
Well, I still use Snapchat personally, but I don't yet see the value from a business standpoint and just the time that goes into social media. I wanted to focus and do the couple that I invested in well.
You do it well, too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Facebook and Instagram are the two that we focus on and try to hit people up that way.
Do you do paid ads ever on the platforms?
We have just Facebook to start. I'm actually, my boyfriend's in the marketing agency world, so he helps figure out the target audience and help narrow that in. So we've done a few. I think we could do more, but right now we're just focusing the funds on other
When you do those Facebook ads, is the goal to get people to like the page? Is the goal to get them to make a purchase?
Depends. Some we do more just brand awareness of we exist as a company.
Yep.
Come like our Facebook page. Or if we're trying to plug a new product, we'll focus on that with an actual shop button so that that'll bring it directly to
Do you ever do shop buttons on Instagram?
We haven't experimented too much with that yet. It's on my list of things to look into because I'm on Shopify. That's our website platform. And they just actually, within the last week, put a new marketing button that you can then link that to your Instagram and tie it more closely together.
Yep.
So I want to explore that more, and I know I could be doing more.
So people could go right from a picture of a dog with the vegan collar and then click on it, and that would take them right to the website to make that purchase.
Right.
It's really interesting, and I'm just starting to see people kind of experiment, so you're on the front end of that as well. And I think, don't you have like close to 5,000 followers?
We are a couple thousand, so we're not quite up to the 5,000, but yeah, we continue to grow every day as I think people stumble upon our Instagram, and we're close to like 1,000 or so on Facebook.
Do you have a strategy for how you want to get more followers?
I look at hashtags, so sometimes I will do like hashtag rescue dog, and I will go and like and comment on random pictures in the hope that they see that, CuddleMutt had liked and followed. And so then that brings them to our page. And so that's kind of my strategy.
It's all organic.
It's all pretty, organic. I don't do any of the paid, followers, and I don't hire any of those type of agencies that do kind of that fake annoying likes and follows where they follow and then they unfollow and all of that. I want to keep it authentic.
Yep. It's hard, though. It's getting harder and harder to grow in that arena. In the beginning, it was pretty organic, and now it's just getting harder and harder and harder. It's really the Instagram influencers that I work with. We've had conversations about that, and it's just harder now to get through. And get even noticed by the people that are following us. I mean, we don't appear on their newsfeed anymore, and it's a lot of that paid, and so that organic, like you mentioned, is really going away. And I hope that they'll kind of continue to change their algorithm on the back end to account for this organic. Because I think it's important, and if someone has chosen to follow, I think that they should see the content. So How do you feel about stories versus pictures on your Instagram?
I think the pictures to build the account are important, so we'll do the daily post on there. But we do try to engage in stories. If we're at events or a pop-up, we like to do Facebook Lives as well. But the stories, I think, really get that real time and that brand, what's going on at that exact moment, and is good just to engage. And I think people notice those before even the post. And so now it's even... we've got a cool new post out. Go check it out and just try to drive people to the actual account as well.
From the posts in the stories.
Right. Yeah. From the story to the post.
Yep.
So there's some of that. But we've experimented with Instagram Live and Facebook Live. It's fun because it's really authentic at that point. I mean, you're live. So
Instagram
whatever
Live,
happens.
Is that like the Instagram Live TV?
It's not quite the TV. It's just like a Facebook Live or Instagram.
I don't even know if I knew that you could do that, but it's just a video. Of course you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just go to, you can kind of swipe to the different types of.
It's rare that you see those, though, when you're looking at someone's feed.
Yeah, it wouldn't be on the feed itself, on the Instagram feed. It would be in the stories part. So it's only up there for 24 hours then, and then it's gone. So it is harder to see versus Facebook Live. It's out there forever.
Yeah.
And you can go back to one I did a year ago, and it would still be there.
And it's hard to the thing I think about Facebook Live is you have to like prepare people that you're going to do it, because not everybody is on their Facebook in the moment when you're going to do it. So they say like to schedule your live video times. So like, hey, fans, we're going to be here at 11 o'clock doing this XYZ.
Yep.
And so you have like more of a built-in audience, because when you start to go live, it takes like 3 minutes before the audience to really get there.
It does. And we've experimented. If I know what time I'm going to go live, I will post something. But at the same time, the after effect, once it's, over, they can still access it.
Yes.
So we've seen a lot of that residual.
Yeah. Like it doesn't happen live, but it'll happen
within,
in the next 24 hours.
Yeah. Like someone will, see it an hour later and it's still relevant, which is great. Yep. And so, yeah, people share the Facebook Live, and we've noticed just even that 48 hours, it's, reached thousands of people, which is fantastic.
As we wrap up here, give me your like CuddleMutt elevator pitch commercial.
Sure. So again, we have our signature blanket and we have our dog collars. And then for every item, not just the blanket, but for every item purchased, we donate a blanket to a dog in need. And when this goes live, we'll be at the Mall of America. So come and visit us. And it's really exciting that we'll have a location. And then we also have pop-up events, and we try to post those on our Facebook events section. So you can find us in different places. But yeah, check out our new inventory. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We really do appreciate any local support as we continue to grow.
It is CuddleMutt. Thank you very much, Kristen.
Thank you.